Speaking of other topics, a big one at the moment is sort of elective sobriety, especially in our sort of age around the sort of 20 to 30-year-old range. It's becoming a lot more popular, not necessarily because people have got an issue or problem with alcohol. It's coming down to actually wanting to be more productive potentially on a weekend and using that time to fuel hobbies and things like that.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've lent into on a personal basis, and I've seen huge benefits from, because one of the questions you were asking me earlier was like, how do you fit it all in when it comes to progressing in a corporate career? And now at director level within the company, which is really exciting. I have the podcast, I have my own fitness and health nutrition, but also on the side, of course, you have to be social. I play golf, I watch my football team, I have a lot of friendships that I keep up as well. One of the big things has been the removal of some stuff. So I was talking about removing maybe unnecessary screen time from your day. I basically don't drink alcohol apart from a handful of times when I choose to. So I went around, I would say, it was just under 1,000 days I didn't drink from October 2019, which was my 26th birthday, through until June 2022. So that was a long time without drinking at all. During that time, I built the podcast massively. I progressed my career massively. And I not that I ever had, and this is an important point as well, like you said, alcohol is the only drug that if you don't take it, people assume you have a problem. Yeah. I've never had a problem with alcohol. I don't have a history of alcoholism in my family either, which I think is important. But I do know that I'm less productive when I've been drinking. I'm more likely to cheat on my diet. I'm more likely to feel a little bit of anxiety or nerves. I'm less likely to do the things that I said I'm going to do. I'm going to have less money. I'm going to have less calories to assign to other things as well. So for me, having a period of sustained break from it and dipping in and out when I choose to is massively important. So after I broke my sobriety in June 2022, I then drank a further 3 times in the year. I drank for my friend's 30th in August, and then I drank twice when I was in Dubai on holiday as well. And both those times when I was on holiday, it just felt like it was going to add to the experience. As you can probably tell from a podcast like this and like my day job that I do, I'm quite an extroverted person, so I'd go to lots of social events and I don't feel out of place by not having alcohol. Yeah. But it's because it's been such a long time, George, that I also don't feel that I rely on it. Whereas when you've always just been the guy that has pints when he goes out, you do almost feel like, oh, I need to have that to have the same level of good time and to still be the lively member of the party. But that's certainly something that I've overcome over time, and I'm very glad that I've done that. And I would definitely advocate for people to be more selective of when they drink, albeit they don't need to limit it to the extent that I do. But if you're somebody that thinks they've got maybe a little bit more potential, they want to save up a little bit more money, they want to have more calories to assign to food rather than drink, they want to be fresher and clearer in their thoughts and their mindset, I would definitely encourage looking at being slightly more selective across what times they do choose to drink rather than just always doing it on autopilot.
Yeah, I think it's what you said is like it is one of those things that you are more judged if you don't do it. And I think it's because it's so deeply rooted in our sort of society in the UK that basically you work Monday to Friday, by 5 o'clock you've got a pint in your hand. And then it is a massive sort of hindrance on your productivity. I find it affects my sleep more than anything. I don't tend to get hangovers. I just, like, say if I've been on a night out, I'll wake up absolutely shattered the day after. And like you say, like with us doing so much outside of our day jobs, there's only so much time that you've got to actually get things done. And if you're spending, say, your Saturday or Sundays chilling, hanging around because you can't be asked doing anything because you've had a night out the night before, then that backlog of work that you should have got done on the Saturday or Sunday now moves on to Monday and then Tuesday, and then it's just a continuous cycle. And it's something that I'm definitely trying to get a lot more selective with in terms of choosing when to drink and potentially how much as well.
It's becoming a lot more common to opt out, and while I say people still do assume maybe you've got a problem or you're an alcoholic or you're somebody that physically cannot drink, I think there's a little bit less stigma, and I think Gen Z in particular are actually drinking far less than any generation that's come before it, which is quite interesting to see. Like, a lot of universities are doing more non-alcohol related activities for Freshers Week, for ingratiating students, because a lot of younger students are just deciding to opt out, and that's not even from like religious or cultural perspectives, it's just through choice. And I think that's great, as long as people use that time that they've freed up really wisely. And I certainly think that's something that I benefited from by using that time and just feeling so much more level, because the elephant in the room is that alcohol is an element of a depressant. And if you look at the mental health crisis that we do have, a lot of people that are feeling down maybe are giving themselves an element of anxiety with a hangover. Like, it's called hangxiety, isn't it? People are just really rough on their hangover, and they're thinking about, God, what did I say? What did I do? What have I not done in terms of the tasks that are looming over them on the to-do list? So yeah, I'm a huge fan of choosing to opt out. And I would definitely say, if somebody was looking to start, I would say give yourself 60 days. I think there's a lot of like sober Octobers and dry Januaries, but when you're doing these things, a lot of people maybe like shut themselves away and go like hermit mode, and they like moan about, oh, I can't wait for dry January to go over. And I'm thinking, yeah, of course, because you've chosen not to go out and you've done really boring stuff. You've like just sat in and watched the film on a Saturday. And don't get me wrong, sometimes that's great, but if you do that every weekend, of course you're going to miss the highs of socialising with your friends and having fun.
Especially if that's something that you were doing on the regular anyway. So like, if you're constantly going out every weekend and then all of a sudden you stop, it almost becomes a craving. And I see a lot of people, as soon as February hits, it's just harder than ever, and they get back into the swing of things every Friday or Saturday. But I'm seeing a lot more Facebook groups for events for people that want to go out and do stuff sober instead of having a drink. And one of the ways me and my mate get around it, so we've both got the Odeon Limitless. It's £15 a month. It's not necessarily to keep us out the pub. It sounds like we've got an issue there, which we don't. We just want to do something different, and every weekend it's to the pub. So we have Odeon Limitless. It's £15 a month, which is basically the same as a ticket these days. And we can go as many times as we want. So I'm actually going on Saturday night. So yeah,
it's about replacing it. Yeah, like for example, I'll meet up with friends for a gym session. I'll meet up with friends for a walk, for a coffee, for lunch, for brunch, for dinner, whatever it is, and I'll take the car. And having activities that aren't necessarily just centered around booze is vitally important. And the fiscal aspect is something I would massively stress for people as well. Like, the amount of money that I've saved off the back of not drinking regularly has been colossal. I've invested into lots of other exciting things like experiences, holidays, whatever else.
Yeah, it's definitely not cheap anymore either. You're looking at like, what, £5-6 a pint these days. So if you're saving a few of them every weekend, it's going to start adding up, and you can spend them on those other experiences to sort of fill the gaps. And it takes me back almost to like being a kid before you could drink. You start doing those things that you used to do, which was like going to the cinema, going bowling, just little thing like going for days out walks. It's just finding those ways. And I think another way that people I've seen a lot of people use is planning something in the morning for, say, if everyone's going out on the Friday and you're not drinking, if you put something in at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, again, put it in your diary so you get that little kick up the arse to go and do it. Make sure you're doing it with another person as well, so you're not letting someone else down. And that it's just those little mechanisms to sort of keep it going almost.
Yeah, I love it, George. Big fan.
Thank you very much for watching this clip of the podcast. If you'd like to see the full episode, click here. If you're new, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed it, please drop it a like below. Thank you very much.